You are an entrepreneur, you are a creator, you are a mother. What does work life harmony, work life balance look for you in the US?
Here is when the story unfolds. I think our life journey is constantly evolving. It also broke me down into several pieces. Slowly, I was becoming this person who was a bridge between America and India. All love is not beautiful love.
How do you stay connected to your Indian roots?
I found myself standing in between, I don't know, 45, 50, 60 strangers. And this was a moment when I realized it's about our legacy.
I've heard about you, you hustle, and then you meditate as well.
It is always about quality versus quantity. A designer like Sabyasachi opening the brand to the world.
What's the game plan ahead for the corporate Diwali?
I'm writing my book of the story of Diwali for now 8 years. TCD today is mystical vehicle, I call it. Most of these big brands are totally invested in DEI.
They always worry about losing a community.
Are we doing our due diligence? The one thing which I really believe, Mohit, is that, our past is already happened. So it's almost
Okay.
proof, right, to our future. Literally having my identity surrender to God.
Welcome to another episode of Mohit's Mantra, the podcast for people who want to thrive and not just survive. I'm your host, Mohit Beriwala. I'm an entrepreneur, investor, and a lifelong learner who's constantly curious about one thing: what truly helps us grow in business, in money, and in life. I sit down with inspiring leaders, thinkers, and doers, people who built something meaningful. I try to decode their mindset, their habit, and their strategies so we can think differently, make smarter decisions, and basically grow in life. Today's guest is someone who represents the global ambition rooted in Indian values, Manisha Beriwala, who I'm proud of to be part of our family, Beriwala family. She's the founder and CEO of the Corporate Diwali, a global platform built on the idea of bringing India to the world. From culture to luxury to leadership, Manisha's journey bridges two worlds, India and the US, with elegance, purpose, and authenticity. Welcome, Manisha ji. Welcome to Mohit's Mantra.
Hey, hi, Mohit. This is so nice to see you. Reporting live from New York City. It's -3 degrees centigrade, 34 Fahrenheit. A chilly cold day and could be snowing too. So I'm excited to get to know about Mohit's mantra. And deep congratulations on your podcast, Dream. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, Manisha, could you take us through your life's journey? What's got you over
You
here?
know,
How has the journey been?
what a beautiful question. And I feel like it has so many answers, right? I think our life journey is constantly evolving and it's giving us new meaning. I have this, personal attachment towards being, you know, literally having my identity surrendered to God. I
Okay.
truly feel that I'm God's own child and I walk, in their path of the universe, guiding me. Um, so my upbringing has been a very, full of resilience, full of persistence, hard work, and a lot of cultural heritage lineage following. I come from and I'm birthed in the Muntra family in India, and very proud daughter of my father and my mother and my grandparents. And also, which I didn't realize for many, many years that I was a born millionaire. So, it took me years of therapy, years of, coaching to own my own birthed identity. But again, in all of that luxury, family values, and beautiful upbringing, I realized that, I was really searching for myself in that massive 500 people family system, where we owe our homage and our lineage to Bikaner, Rajasthan, which is our personal temple, and which also has our own palaces, our own city established only through our faith. A small story to take me back to my heritage was, and especially my journey was, every summer our parents would take us to Bikaner, which used to be like 55-degree Fahrenheit, you know,
Wow, yes.
every summer, and we used to be kids, and we had to be there in that summer atmosphere, with very less modern facilities. um, that was the time when I saw the dedication of my parents and my entire family towards faith. And as a kid, growing up, those are my memories which were shaping up my cultural upbringing, the beautiful rituals, the ceremonies, discipline, which I didn't realize was already being, entailed in who I was as a person. This gave
Okay.
me a value system, which, I feel like was very entailed inside of me, but I had a lot of time understanding that. So that is who I am, and that is where I, belong. And then, of course, I'm married to a very beautiful Beriwala family, my husband's family, and they're also very strong in their faith. They are from the Bake Bihari temple in Vrindavan. And your grandfather and my husband's grandfather has created one of the strongest legacies for the Beriwala clan, which I'm so proud of. I'm also very much fond of my grandfather-in-law, Mr. Kancham Dasji Beriwala, who has knowingly inspired me and has given me so many values coming from the family you are married into. So the shoulders, right? I always say, I have two shoulders and both are from the both very strong family system. um so that is how I started my journey, Mohit.
Okay. So could you talk about how did you end up in the US and what was the journey before Corporate Diwali?
Awesome. Yes, that's such a great question. As I said, evolution and, on being on God's path was a main reason. Me and my husband, we didn't really plan, a lot of our next moves. We let the universe guide us. We are both very much guided by our own faith and our love, and we wanted to be a self-made, individuals. We started our journey in London, where we spent a year, where I got to teach in, local teaching institutes in London, which I loved. I tried to understand the UK system of education, which was very, very engaging and encouraging. One thing led to the other. From London and the UK system, we found ourselves in New York City, for a big project. And here is when the story unfolds. What I did not realize was that how America would be the foundation to my wings, how it would give me the identity I was looking for. We were stripped off, of our entire family names. We did not know anyone in the US when we came here in New York City. We had no family, no friends, and we did not know the system. The weather was new, the culture was new, the people were absolutely new. So we knew nothing. And this is a sure example that when you know nothing, you go into the unknown and
Absolutely.
you keep figuring it out. So that's how I got, introduced to the United States. That's how I saw myself in New York. And to be very, very honest, it is one of my most loved identity. And I feel like it has shaped me into who I am. And it also broke me down into several pieces where I found
Oh,
myself challenged and less equipped. But yeah.
so Calcutta, London, and then New York. And you talked about it's a very, very different culture. Now, many Indians dream of building a life in the US. It's like, this golden dream. When you moved abroad, what was your, especially US, what was your earliest culture shock or surprises which you saw?
Um, as much as I was loving New York City, and because I'm a free-minded person, it gave me so much independence of thought. You could be anyone if you wanted to be here, and nobody would judge you.
Absolutely.
That gave me a sense of purpose, and that gave me that confidence which I was missing back home. Uh, um, and that was the stepping stone towards so many new things I was learning through an experimental way. We were learning how to build our own homes, build our own kitchens, cook for ourselves, learn basic discipline, establish, social identity where you're meeting people from absolute different cultures, backgrounds. And Mohit, I have to say this, that what I didn't realize was um, slowly I was becoming this person who was a bridge between America and India.
Wow.
When I was walking into, like coffee shops and restaurants and bars and social setups, I would constantly see so many of our acquaintances. They would come up to me and they would ask me about my country. They would ask me about my culture. They would ask me about our food, the yoga, the meditation, and the turmerics. It slowly became, a conversation starter. And what I started to feel was that, this was kind of bringing me closer to my home, which I was missing while away from home. But all of in these conversations, as much as I was loving the culture of the United States, I was loving the independence. I was loving the organizational, systematic opportunity outlet, which I felt was an absolute dream for a dreamer like me. And that's when I started to establish a connection with the local community here. And I started to understand them deeper. And the more and more I would observe in so many conversations, gatherings, parties, and in education systems and work cultures, I absolutely fell in love with, the Americans. But all love is not beautiful love. And when I started to go deeper, that is when the reveal happened.
Okay.
I saw a ton of loneliness.
Oh.
I saw people so happy with their accomplishments, but having no one to share that with. And let
Hmm.
me remind you, as I said in my journey, that, I came from 500 people family, 300 people family, and India is definitely the most
Hmm. It's a
populated country
huge.
in the world, right? So, with that people's person, what I saw was that here, the local people would just walk up to people and start a conversation.
We
And
don't
they
do
would,
that in India often.
yeah, and they would open up their life to you literally so obediently and so organically and so um, honestly. And that's what really struck a chord to me, that they are connecting to me because of where I come from. Because I was opening my heart, I was opening my family values to them. I was sharing my personal family systems with them. I was talking to them about what family really looks like and how it has been the foundation to my upbringing and my living. And that's when I saw that the social system here was breaking. Divorces were so common, while people were really trying to find love.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very, profound. You you were the Americans' Indian Lonely Planet guide. Along with that, you also saw the loneliness of America. Wow, this is very interesting. Um, Now I realized this that especially for NRIs, festivals in India are amazing, but festivals outside India are also very different. Does, especially, let's talk about you specifically, how do you keep the festive spirit alive in the US, especially during Holi and other family occasions?
That's such a beautiful thing you mentioned. I feel that um, that's what, is something which is so beautiful about our culture. What really gave me meaning to my life was the light of Diwali.
Mm.
Why that happened was also super organic. The first, year in this country, I remember 2005, Diwali was approaching. We couldn't go back home to see our family and our friends. So we wanted to create a similar forum here. And we were living in a high rise, and I would go up and down the elevator telling people, hey, it's Diwali, and we should meet and let's gather in the community room. And we'd love to share our culture. Mohit, it was such a dream that in that community room in 2005, I found myself standing in between, I don't know, 45, 50, 60 strangers, not from my culture, not from my community, all gathered, looking at me and asking me for more.
Wow.
That was the birthing of, the corporate Diwali in a way, because I feel like that was the time I realized that there is so much more to share than, a business deal or an after work socializing or networking, or what's my sales goal, or what are the transactions we are trying to maintain with one another. This was completely organic. This was based out of so much love, so much affection, and culture, which is, I think, was the biggest missing thing which I found in the United States. And they were looking forward to learn more. They wanted to be a part of what we were. And that was a moment of an epiphany for me, which felt like almost like, God's, whispering in my ear that open more doors, invite more people into your home, into your culture, and make it more inclusive. And that's when the word diversity, inclusivity, and representation came to me.
Very nice. I think I love this fact that when you went out of your way, and it is very difficult going out of your own comfort zone, inviting 50, 60 families to a party. You don't know them, they don't know you, and they don't even know what is Diwali, and you're inviting them, then you're doing this. This is amazing. I think that's really, really admirable and very, very courageous. Uh, I have a question for you on this one. You know, especially how do you stay connected to your Indian roots? How do you personally balance the global exposure along with your Indian values? I'm not just saying on the festive part, but on the daily life part. You know, Indians are born with a very, very different culture perspectives regarding food, regarding dressing, regarding everything. How do you balance global exposure and Indian values?
Mm, that's very, that's actually what's shaping who we are as independent individuals. I would be very honest, for the first year and a half, I was really taking in the culture here. I was really trying to understand, the ethos of, the American dream. And I was trying to also understand the opportunities, the intellect, the education. I found myself in enrolling into New York University, studying corporate communication, the business sciences, entrepreneurship. And the more and more I started to deeply dwell into education of the system here, I started to realize so many new changes that where where I come from and my upbringing would almost teach those things on a dinner table, on a conversation with our family members. Coming from a business family, Mohit gave me so much head start towards already of what I knew versus what was taught in these classrooms. Also made me understand that the American dream is gorgeous and amazing, but I think the American dream was also more towards what you can create. And if you notice, one of the biggest creators of the world belong into America. Every day there's a new invention, and it really comes from a freedom of mind, which I think is the biggest gift America gave me here. And then, I come back home and, I had to quickly connect to where I come from. So there was always that balancing thing, which I think my yoga has taught me, is you might be in two different worlds. You might be in completely two different spaces, but who you are defines you. And the more and more I went deeper into my meditation, I started to understand that, owning our own self is the stepping stone towards the next levels of your own personal progress. So, we would celebrate, festivities at home. We would talk in our Indian language, in Hindi at home. And I have to give a lot of credit to my husband for that also. I'm very, very, my biggest introduction and my biggest joy to my life is the birth of my two daughters, Ivanka and Aliona. And I have to tell you this, Mohit, the birth of my daughter, Ivanka, was the birth of Manisha, rebirth. That was the time I realized that it was no longer about me. It was no longer about what we were creating. And this was a moment when I realized it's about our legacy.
You would not believe this. My wife Shraddha also says the same thing. She says that when our son Shriyansh was born, her life took a whole journey. I think she found a flourish in her life which she wasn't having. I thought she was very, very good as well, but she says she found a very, very different flourish in life. Now, you mentioned you are a go driver, right? I've seen you, I've heard about you, you hustle, and then you meditate as well. And I so resonate with that because I'm also a Vipassana follower. You are also a Vipassana follower. And it, still living in India, of course, we can say this, but you're in America where there's the warmth of Indian culture, but the individuality of the West, right? There are
Yeah,
two very different things. What do you love most about both of them? The Indian culture and the individuality of the West.
I think India is who I am, as in my birth, but America is who I become and still becoming.
Superb.
I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I was an academic failure. Let me take you back. In India, the education system just did not work for me. Highly competitive. It's only about the first, second, and third ranking, the 99 percentile. And believe it or not everybody can be a 99 percentile on one test method. So
Absolutely.
very, very soon I realized, Mohit, that, the Birla school I was going in, Ashok Hall, was not for me. I realized that the rote learning system was not for me. I could not connect with competition with other people because, mind you, I was always in competition with my own self. So that changes the game completely.
Completely. You're not in
And
competition with the rest of the world. You're competition with yourself yesterday.
absolutely. And, while growing up, when I was so young, I was always a black sheep, an academic failure. And believe it or not, today I love that about me because I could see that part of my life not working for me. I could understand that this part of my life was working for me. And it was all through experiment. I'm married to a genius guy. He's an academic brilliance, and we both fell in love, which is also an example that you don't need to be of the same academic level, and love and affection defines your character, your life goals, and what you're building together in partnerships. So as much as I, go back home and I love what I, lived and how I lived, I truly feel that, my father, he instilled a very strong resilience within me. He would always motivate me to strive for more. My father has a skin condition, and, we would all be so conscious, if any one of us would have that. And since my childhood, I would see him walk into rooms with confidence like no one else.
Wow.
to rule, to rule business meetings, to lead with kindness. And, my father gave me so much of that push and the power and the challenges that you can be who you want to be if you want to be. So that is what I loved about my upbringing in India. And that is what India was giving me. Well, I think America was a full experimental situation. There was no one to guide me. I was my own boss for the first time in my life. Ivanka's birthing, when I bring that up a lot, is literally a story which I have to document, um, because there was no one, family wise in this country to support us with that journey. It was just me and my husband figuring out a new country, figuring out a new medical system, figuring out childcare, figuring out how to become parents in a foreign country where you have no mentors, you have no guides, you have no coaches. And here it was my stubborn decision to give birth to my first daughter, name her Ivanka, in New York City, Manhattan. And that was one of my biggest dreams. It came through a lot of hardship, Mohit. It was the hardest thing I did, I think, at those days. But that was a feeling of accomplishment which no
There you
test
go.
results, which,
Absolutely.
right, which, you cannot get an A plus in that. Like, there is no grading in that, right?
There's
And
only one grade, which is pass and fail.
yeah, and when you bring a new human in this world, that too all by yourself with zero anyone around you, uh, that is what America is. I could do this only with my American values.
Absolutely.
I could only do this with the echo of my father's voice in my ear when I'm rushing to the ER and I'm telling him, Dad, you're not here. Mom, you're not here. How will I do this? His reply was, you are in the best medical facility in the world. Right now, you need a doctor. You don't need a family member.
Uh, I think that's
And that,
pretty inspirational. And I think doing it for the first time on your own, and especially learning about any of this stuff in a new country, forget about a new city, that itself is very jarring. And but I think you survived and you thrived, and that's basically what successful people are. They don't just survive; they thrive. You talked about your education system learning,
yeah.
and you would not believe this. I'm having a flashback. 2 days back, I had a conversation with my son. I asked him, Shriyansh, who do you think is stronger, a cheetah or a lion? He said, Papa, lion. But I said, okay, cheetah and a lion go on a race. Who do you think wins? He says, cheetah. Okay, then I said, okay, but you said, Papa, but you said stronger. I said, okay, done. I'll get into a race with an elephant and a lion, and they both have to pick up a log and throw it. That's the true strength, right? He said, elephant will win. So then does the lion go dejected and say, okay, I am not fast. Okay, I'm not strong enough. No, they have a very different strength as compared to a elephant and a cheetah, right? So I don't think there are external yardsticks for success. You can't compare like the way your journey is, and I have seen that, and the way any person who moves from protected or sheltered life in India in a joint family to somebody in America who raises a family on her own, starts a business. I think it's something really admirable, and proud to know the lioness in you.
My favorite animal is elephant. We should tell. I would love to have a chat with Shrikant very soon. My favorite animal is elephant, and that's the logo of Corporate Diwali also.
Yes, I know, I know, I know.
And it's it's a beautiful story you share. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, sorry. So coming back to luxury, right? I realize America, foreign countries, people love those luxury things and everything. Now, the American luxury landscape is very different from India. So, two questions. First, what is the art of luxury and how is it evolving globally? And the second part is, what makes Indian luxury stand out? Do Indian luxury brands have a space?
Mohit, when I started my journey, my definition of luxury was very different. My definition of luxury was establishing myself, finding my purpose, and as you said, balancing, with a very strong value system of family when I was raised, balancing that, and also organizing and structuring a cultural and heritage driven mission in a world where we're only selling and we're only worried about the sales goals and the money movements and the finances. um, and I'll again tell you this, that when you're raised with so much and I really find myself very privileged saying this, when you're raised with so much material comforts, that is when you can think about the community services in a different format. This was one of my strengths, to bring forward something like Corporate Diwali, which stood on the foundation of culture and heritage. But also, I wanted to bring forward luxury. So when you ask me, my definition of luxury when I started was the luxury of time. That how do I, organize my time in a way that I can be a daughter to, overseas parents, a daughter-in-law. How could I be a wife, a mother to my kids? How could I be a mentor to so many people and students and women and men we mentor through Corporate Diwali? How do we bring forward spirituality? And how do we establish a community based on these value systems, which are actually contributing to your own personal success, which to me is, I think, the biggest wealth today is wellness. W for wealth is W for wellness. I feel that, everything can come and go in your life. Me and my husband, we started with nothing, with no contribution of cash and kind by no person in the world, just us. And whoever met us, Mohit, they did not believe in us in terms of where we could go. So when you are going through a path which is completely unknown and completely may not work 9 out of 10 times, and you try to make that work piece by piece, moment by moment, and in the way of doing your right, that is when I think the real luxury, the real wellness, the real wealth comes to you. Um, in my journey, also, I quickly realized that I love luxury was something which was a part of my growing up, you know, and I couldn't compromise on my standard of living, bringing up my children, dressing, um, interior designing my homes, our homes. So, that was a form of material luxury, which I saw was a part of what we were doing. But also, it gave me an understanding of world brands. It gave me a deeper meaning of brands which we have now collaborated for so many years, like Ferrari, Gucci, Christian Dior, um, Mickey Moto, Cartier, Baccarat, and Van Cleef and Arpels. And there's a huge list which keeps adding, keeps evolving. And that was a moment when I was writing my first workshop on legacy planning. Is the time it gave me an understanding of how luxury and legacy are also connected.
Okay.
It's a very fine tuning when you think about luxury. It has a founder, it has a creator, and then there's a whole system which brings their story forward. So
Okay.
my thought pattern was always about storytelling, like, who are you and how did you do what you did, and how did you maintain your authenticity, and I think that to me became luxury.
Okay, this is very interesting. Now, I can ask you a question from my perspective. A lot of Indians, especially middle class Indians, the first time they go abroad, they will go to an outlet mall.
Yeah.
And I remember going to New York and again going to an outlet mall. So I want to ask you, how is the luxury brandscape evolving globally? One. Second, what should middle class Indians look at while buying luxury goods, especially in their outlet malls? And third, do you think will there be ever a chance jab Indian luxury brands will replace the international luxury brands in our shopping bags?
Sure. I think we should really have a 911 shopping, personal shopper here, from a legacy luxury brand. But I'll contribute to this in a, very personalized manner. Being a receiver and now also, being a part of a communicator with the luxury brands, and understanding first as a shopper and then as behind the scenes also. So you see, receiving and creating, two aspects of luxury brands. As an immigrant Indian, we did the same, Mohit. We did exactly the same for the first few years. We felt that was the way to be because, the herd mentality, you follow, you keep doing the same thing, which was a great experience because I feel if you don't do that, you wouldn't know what you're doing today and how the changes feel, right? So I really, really strongly recommend for every immigrant Indian and other countries to do the, outlet shopping first.
Superb.
Once you do that, right, you've had an experience of what to expect. And the minute you understand, that, oh, this is this, I thought it would be something like, like winning the Olympic medal, literally, right?
Absolutely.
But at the end, you realize that no, it's really not that, right? So, from the shopping perspective, this is my suggestion. And now, when we bring it to global luxury brands and how they're changing the tapestry, again, very privileged to be part of such big brands, identity, storytelling. I am very, very honored to be invited in forums where I get to understand luxury storytelling, legacy storytelling, where they come from, where they want to be. And I am so thrilled to tell you today, Mohit, that most of these big brands are totally invested in DEI, diversity, equity, and representation. Diversity, inclusion, representation, and that is what is the beauty in where we are as India in the global forum. We have a presence. We are slowly bringing an identity. What we also have to realize is, I'm writing my book of the story of Diwali for now 8 years. And I've been invested in research in Buddhism, Kabbalah, um, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism for very many years. And I always say this that, when you go back so many years and you come forward so many years, right? There is always that time when India missed out because we got our independence in 1947. So we came to the world very late as a global perspective. And that is why when we are sitting in the HQ of the world in places like New York City, the melting pot of the world, I found that, you know, the global um, people in the world right now are really looking to know our culture more, to understand who we are. But my question is always this that are we doing our diligent due diligence? See, let me tell you one thing. Diversity is not one way that how much are we getting included in a global setting, right? Diversity is also the other way around. That through Corporate Diwali, when we take 10 to 12 Americans to India every year on a palace hopping, spiritual, over the top hospitality, cultural journey, it's across diversity, right? Like how much are we including, people from the other, cultures of the world to be actively participating in our culture. That is a mindset which really changed my perspective in so many ways. See, today at Corporate Diwali, why I mentioned this is, our board of trustees are all white American women. And they know about Diwali much more than I do in many ways. And the way they, say it with so much affection and love and, spirituality is because it's given them something. It's almost like when you think about a Christmas tree, right? When most of us have a Christmas tree at our home, or and we're not even part of the religion or the culture. So the openness was very big, and hence we could all be a part of that movement. So I am kind of, in a place in my life where I would love to open piece by piece our culture to the whitest belts of the world, to people who really want to know, like who are we and where do we come from? And what do we eat, as you said, and why do we wear clothes like that? And why is, we're always having children? Or why is it so important to be, so connected with your families back home? I hope I
So,
answered your question. I know we
so
started with 12.
if my understanding is correct, what you're saying is that if Indian luxury brands and Indian as a culture, we are open, much more open, faceted, and much more welcoming and much more palatable, if you could say it in a generalized manner. I think we have space for Indian luxury to be in part of the shopping bags of Americans over there as well, if I'm getting you right.
Absolutely right. Yes. And we are slowly getting there. We are seeing a big change, in American mentality. I mean, my favorite personal designer of my dreams is Sabyasachi and Mukherjee. He's from Calcutta, from our home.
Yes,
And, we are so proud, Mohit, that for the last 4 years, we have a worldwide collaboration with Sabyasachi. So when we take our 10 to 12 Americans to India for the trip, we always take, them to the Sabyasachi flagship store in New Delhi, where seeing is believing, right? So when you see those pieces, when you see that, that beautiful cultural heritage we have in our clothes, is when I see that they're buying, the bags, they're buying their jewelry, they're buying their, pieces of clothing. And it really came by, a designer like Sabyasachi opening the brand to the world. So yes.
that's pretty fantastic. Um, Now, coming back to the story of you moving, a lot of Indians who especially are moving to America or to other parts of the world. I got lots of friends who've moved to America, UK, and Germany, and Singapore, Australia, and other parts of the world. They always worry about losing a community. You know, what advice would you give them that instead of focusing on losing the community, how do they build relationships in a new country?
This is a super valid question, and this is something which I am very, very passionate about. And this is something which I feel needs so much attention that, when we're talking about building a community. So today, what we built with Corporate Diwali is a community. And that is something which is striving, is opening up so many doors and so many new opportunities for people worldwide on a global scale. Um, you know, um, in my spiritual journey, and I'm going to, really bring it back to my spirituality, which is my most, loved thing, and it's given me who I am. It is always about quality versus quantity.
Okay.
It's always about who you know versus how many people you know.
Ah,
It's about who will be there for you versus, you know, you might have this massive, community of people which you were, born with, right? But who are your people? For example, my brother in India, he is the one of my biggest pillars of my life. He's one of my spiritual gurus, my coach, my mentor, Sudarshan Mundra. And he gave me something, he believed in me when nobody did. And why I'm bringing him forward is that, am I in touch with him from back home? Yes. But am I, in the same network of so many people I knew back home? No. Um, Even in spiritual journeys, they always say that if we don't make space for the new, you would miss the opportunity of so many people who are waiting to meet you, who are waiting to know you.
Bingo.
And, our time is so limited, Mohit, that people who love you will always be there, like my brother. And there are so many people, who are unable to be there for you, or you are being unable to be with them. And that guilt has to be really taken care of for NRIs or for independent individuals, and I always say this in my speeches that, we let them go with blessings and love. And, there was a time for everyone who came in your life to contribute to what you needed and what they needed, right? And their journey changed because of you in some format, and your journey changed because of them. But the idea of letting go does not mean that you forget them. The idea of letting go is making space for very many people around the globe. And today I can tell you very proudly that, my best friends, my best, literally godparents to my children and everything, um, to who I am, um, are my American friends. And it's not that I did something unique or they did something unique. I think we were just open, so to being open and allowing other people to enter your life with trust, honesty, and giving them, some time to um, just get to know you and you get to know them. And before your energies will speak faster than the words.
Superb,
So,
superb, superb. You
yes.
just said it very well. You have to make space for the new to come in, We hold on tight and banta hi nahi hai space.
Yeah.
Uh, you are an entrepreneur, you are a creator, you are a mother. What does work-life harmony, work-life balance look for you in the US?
Oh, it's mighty hard. As much as I can tell you, oh, it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's this, it's so much behind the scenes hard work, Mohit. And when I say hard work, I mean physical hard work, mental hard work. Um, and I feel that the magic sauce here, which I would love to share, is taking care of yourself first. Your workouts,
Ah,
right? Like,
mental peace, your own mental peace. You have to take care of it first. Your physical health and your mental health. Wow.
your first is your own wellness, your own fitness. And growing up in India, you're always taught, especially as a woman, that you take care of every single person in the house and you eat last, right? So that's what I saw every time growing up. I lost my mother 4 years back, and I remember that she would always say that we're always taking care of everyone, and who takes care of us? So I would always, question her and be like, oh my God, is this being very selfish? Or is this being, kind and being able to find love for your own self? And when she passed away, it was a big shock to my system. It was my life changing moment. It was my spiritual awakening. And believe it or not, it gave me so much peace to understand the, the systematic mindset she provided for myself to sustain family life, and also being able to follow my dreams, and as an entrepreneur, as a community leader, in bringing forward the culture in a different country. And I feel the magic sauce here is 100% your own mental health, to take care of your mind, to fill your own cup, to have self care as a non negotiable, in setting boundaries where you feel that there is unalignment, to letting go of energies which don't um, give you the positivity in your surrounding. I know it's all very fluid. It's not something which is materialistically seen, but I feel that to get somewhere, first thing you need to do is to take care of your own self, to find your own purpose. And once you have that, you know everything about your next stages in life. So that's what I think.
Absolutely, I always say the same thing. It's like an aeroplane safety announcement. You have please wear your own mask before assisting others. So you have to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, Ivanka goes to college, right? She went to college this year.
Yes.
Um, you've been a parent of a student who's gone to college this year. I want to know your perspective on the American college experience and the American school experience, and how does it compare to your, if you remember your education system, your experience of education system in India? Because I believe I can guarantee and tell you doubt, every parent in India is always curious about the school system, the college system in America versus India.
Isn't it so nice, Mohit? Education has become so big in our country.
Yes, it's
I'm
absolutely huge
so
now.
proud of that. I'll give you this small story. When we go to India in our corporate Diwali retreat, we take a trip to Taj Mahal, the Taj Mahal in Agra. And year after year, last 4 years when I've been going in, the last 3 years, I've been seeing, you know, um, big groups of school kids coming in as field trips, and walking so beautifully, disciplined, understanding the culture, education of our heritage, right? It gave me so much happiness to my soul. It gave me so much sense of pride of my country that, we are prioritizing education as one of our key components of progress, right? Um, Today, I'm so proud to say that I don't know the percentile, but a very high percentage of foreign students come from our country, supporting the American education system. And I think it's a big win, it's a big learning, and it's a big opening up of the global um, education system to the world. Now, personally, I'm going to tell you this, which I barely say in front of many people, but I'm so happy to share this, that if there was one thing I would go back in history and change in my life, which is such a big question, is I wish I was born in this country
Oh,
for the education it can offer to academic failures like us, to people who are dreamers, who are creators, who are also allowed to learn in a different way, and are accepted in society, not just in society, but in their personal journey of education. So I always say this, Mohit, that education today has become a very personalized, requirement, because there's so much
absolutely.
out, right? There is just so much out there that, the number one thing is, I always say this is, especially after, going through our daughter's, education process, is that we need to prioritize what our children need.
Mhm.
We need to find the little gift they have and what they want to do. And I think that is my biggest message to our Indian parenting system, our culture, our country, that as much as we want our children to thrive, I think the beauty is when we allow them to pursue what they want to dream and what they want to do.
Hmm.
Thanks to God's
That's
grace today,
absolutely.
right? And today I feel like there are so many opportunities of learning, not just in the US, but all over the world. The world is opening towards education, right? And I think United States is an absolute leader. Personally, also, I'll tell you this. I was so proud that I was selected as one of the very few women entrepreneur leaders for Cornell Ivy League, system certification. And when that came about, and I was committed in their 1 year program, and I started to get a first-hand feeling of the education system, you know, on leadership. And that changed everything for me at that moment. That it's not just about just the number of educational institutions America possesses. It's about, the way they teach, the learning. I also feel like it's so practical. It's so adjusting to what you want to be. It also gives you a deeper understanding of the world, It's not just about a book, it's about how the book applies to your surrounding, to your world.
Hmm.
And how are you contributing also? Your contribution is so celebrated here in educational fields that I feel like you are actually selected for what you want to be in a way that it gave me hope. You know, our daughter wanted to be into animal science since she was 5 years old. She wanted to be a veterinarian. And nobody in my family or my husband's family or our friends had anything to do with animal medicine. We don't even have many doctors in our families, is we're more about money making and businesses and industrialists. That's what I've seen all my life. My dad is one of them. My husband is also very much like him. Um, so I found this service aspect of my daughter when she was 5. And both me and my husband nurtured it. And we just wanted her to be. And we didn't know, what the outcome would look like, but we were very, very honest in our approach. We let her do what she wants to do. She was a scholarship student. She pursued, her discipline is number one in her space of learning. And in that process, I found that when she was applying to her college system, Mohit, and it was nerve wracking, to be honest, being her mom. I really,
It is there for almost all parents, the
yeah,
college experience.
and I'll be so honest, I was that mom who wanted my daughter to be in an Ivy League. I openly accept it. It was like, a sense of,
You're the lucky ones because you knew what her career path would be. I can guarantee and tell you 99% of parents, forget about parents, the kids themselves, and probably I was thinking of my own college. I didn't know.
yeah,
I chanced into international CFA, Indian CFA, and FRM, and I loved it. But that was a happenstance for me. It was not something which I planned and went through, right? So, but still, the college experiences is pretty nerve wracking. You kind of get the shivers and the jitters, and what's going to happen.
absolutely. And same here. And I didn't realize that so much that, we would be in that space. I am quite a free-minded person. I'm quite an open-minded person. Education to me is very, free hand also. But when it came to Ivanka, and knowing your own child, I knew that she needed something which was more, And when we kind of very quickly understood that, um, she didn't even apply for, her testing and all of that. And she was invited in, world's number one and world's number two animal science, universities. And it was almost like winning the lottery. I'll be honest to you. It was like, oh my God, this is how it feels when you win a lottery. That was the feeling of excitement for us. And to also see that, there is hope, Mohit,
Mhm.
That, how we talk about how we are always telling our children hard work, telling ourselves hard work, doing the right, being honest, being kind matters, right? That's just a moral, compass we have. And
Absolutely.
we saw that converting. And what was amazing was there were many other institutes which rejected her, by the way. And I was like, wow, like these guys know who is good for what. So her niche and what she built as her profile was so recognized in the American education system.
Very
So,
interesting.
yeah,
So the way understand is, you spoke that the American education is much more accepting, but you
yeah,
have to find your own niche specifically and go for that. And you have to be okay that things which are not up to your uh, core strengths would not come to you, but you have to be okay with it. But whatever is your core strength or your niche, you would get it,
yes,
right? Oh,
yes.
fantastic. Uh, so could you tell us about what's the game plan ahead for the corporate Diwali? What's the vision? What's the mission?
Oh my God, that's a $1 million question, Again, I'm going to tell you another story. I know I love storytelling, but the one thing which I really believe, Mohit, is that our past is already happened, so it's almost proof,
Okay.
right, to our future. So when you think about your journey as who you were becoming, who you are, right, you almost know that you could be where you want to be. And that feeling of what you want to do is something which comes out of a lot of destruction of mindset. Now let me explain what that means is for creators, for founders, for people who are visionaries, for people who want to, you know, break the system a little bit and again realign it and stitch it in a way that the community needs, is what we call ourselves as community, tailoring system, in a way. It's almost a feeling that when you create something which has never been created before, I have been asked this question from every single person I have met who have
Mhm.
been a part of the corporate Diwali journey. The biggest astonishing was because we are a self made, and I'm so proud to say that um, I have fully, self funded corporate Diwali without any help from my father or my husband. It just gave me a playground to mess around. It gave me a playground to be in a fun space because I always knew that, unless and until I'm having fun in what I'm doing, unless and until I'm happy, unless and until there is excitement every morning when I'm waking up, I am not doing what I want to do with TCD. And this was also, explained to me by my brother. So coming back to what we were talking about, I would sit down in forums and people would ask me, hey, investors, when there was a moment of investing possibility with TCD, which didn't happen, by the way, um, I would be sitting down in, huge board tables and be asked the same question. Hey, like, where do you see corporate Diwali going, right? And, my reply was always the same, that the sky is the limit. And I also really, really believe in the concept of the light of Diwali, of Lady Goddess Lakshmi, of how she guides us, of how she's always bringing us closer to finding your inner light, which is getting dimmed in so many people, finding that purpose. And to your question, it's ever changing. Now we run the number one magazine, the only magazine in the world for Diwali diversity with TCD publications. Our editor, our publisher is Kelly Vincent Rodriguez. One of our founding members, Robin Cortez, she led a Diwali retreat to India, being an American. And she was like, no, Manisha, we should really do this. Victoria, Van Rondel, who is half German, half American, lives in upstate New York. She literally helped us design, the clothing line for Maharani, which is our philanthropic mission, where we support tailors in Greece and India, giving back component. Um, and then we also have, Joanne, who just joined our team, who is half British, and she lives in the Hamptons. And she is helping us in a give back component for TCD philanthropy. So, as we're bringing this team together, we are bringing, people with hearts and affection towards one another to create that movement where we can bring forward cultural availability to the ones who need, and also introduce it to the corporate community and the business community of the world to kind of stop, pause, take a break, realign, refocus, and invest your time in something which you didn't even know you needed. So TCD today is a mystical vehicle, I call it, where we're carrying people from different genres of life, who literally don't know what they're getting into with our retreats and our events, and who find their calling, you know, in this journey, uh, because it's for the unknown, for people who believe in the unknown.
I think it's basically, if I understand correctly, and I'm maybe paraphrasing, but I think you're helping find people something within. It
Yes.
just, and that's through the Indian culture, and I think that's pretty wonderful. Such an enriching and heartful conversation. Pretty fantastic, you know. Your story reminds us that no matter where life takes you, whether it is in New York or Calcutta or anywhere in the middle, anywhere in between, our roots, our cultures, our values travel across with us.
and
Manisha's
also
journey shows us
and also to be open to the other side of the world.
absolutely. You have to be open. If you're not open, it won't work. And your journey shows us that global doesn't mean losing who we are. It means expanding who we can become. To all our NRI viewers and listeners everywhere, dreaming of building a life abroad, your story doesn't have to choose between India and the world. You can belong to both. If this episode inspired you, share it with someone who's navigating their own global journey. Until next time, thrive and not just survive.
Jai Shri Krishna.